Might as well start. We starting. Hello. I think we're live. It says we're live. Apologies for being a little bit late. My computer today decided to probably burn itself up. Had a core temperature warning, switched itself off, wouldn't come back on for half an hour. All kinds of drama. So hopefully we've cooled it down a little bit. I do think I do need to get the Hoover into it though, to clean out some dust, which probably isn't helping. Its age doesn't help, that's for certain. I think this machine's getting on for 7 years old, and it's starting to suffer. So the other problem today is I've got nothing planned. Usually, this is episode 15, by the way, so I think I've done pretty well to have a plan for pretty much everything for the last 3.5 months. Whereas today, episode 15, I've got no bloody idea what I'm going to do. We're going to edit some photographs, obviously, but I haven't shot anything new that's of any note, of any quality anyway. I've been far too busy doing my accounts this last week. Finally got them done at about 11:30 last night, to great relief. But then again, I was feeling incredibly anxious that I was I anxious because I was relieved that I'd finished them? Or anyways, I should have been a lot calmer than what I was when I'd submitted them. So yeah, brains and all that. They're funny things. So yeah, done my accounts last night. It's something I only do once a year, stupidly. I don't do it month to month or week to week or whatever. I just do it all in one go. Take basically a week to go through everything, find everything, cross-reference everything. It's an absolute nightmare to do, and I should be more proactive with it, but I'm not. I'm totally disorganised, as you can probably tell. So it's always one of them fun times of the year, and I had to get them all done by the 31st of July, and as per usual, I left it to pretty much the last minute. But when it all comes out of it, I'd made a profit last year, which is all what we always want. That's the aim, is to have some money to live off, and I managed that, which is always a great relief. Going forward, who knows? But certainly last year, I'd made a little bit of money. Excuse me. Thank you all for coming along. For those of you who are here and watching, the chat room is open, by the way. And if you're watching later on in catch up, I'm very surprised you've even got to this stage, to be honest, with my rambling. But thank you very much for watching. If you're watching later on, please do leave a comment. Tell me straight how disorganised I am. I don't mind. Just any interaction's great. So I'll see we've got a few folk watching. If you're watching, do drop in the chat, say hello. It's all about being sociable here today, because basically you're gonna have to keep me going because I've got no plans. So a little bit of an update. I am creeping very, very slowly towards 500 subscribers. So if you can spread the word around that I'm here on YouTube, would be wonderful. Tell your friends, those that are interested in landscape photography anyway, and certainly the ones that are interested in my breed of landscape photography. And as I've said before, when I hit that 500 mark, hi Edward, good to see you. When I do hit that 500 subscriber mark, I have a limited edition print to give away. It's an A3 print, and it is this one, which I actually printed out earlier. Evening, Stephen. Good to see you. I'm always rambling. I'm just surprised people are actually here to listen to me ramble, that's all. Oh, we've got even more watching now. So yeah, the print that I'm going to be giving away in a competition is this, the one, which if I can put it somewhere where you can actually see and put a light to be hitting it. It's a shot that I've basically, I think I've basically based the last 3 videos on, and it's from my wander up to Harbottle Castle, which will be in the latest. If you go through my vlogs playlist, it's the newest one on there. If you're watching this live or in the reasonably recent time frame, not if you're watching this 3 years after I recorded it. So I did that, and I did last week's. I went through it, how I made it in last week's live stream, and then I did another video which used that portion of the last week's live stream, chopped it up a bit, put a front end on it, put an end on it, a front on it, and an end on it, made it a new video, uploaded that as a separate entity, which I've decided I'm going to call Deconstruct, which I think I'll add on to and deconstruct other images I've made. So hopefully that'll be able to give you a bit of a background on how some of these images come together without you sitting through an hour and a half's live stream, or if I do decide to do a full beginning to end edit at some stage, where it's me just sliding a slider back and forward for an hour. So it may be more of a condensed thing, so like basically here's one layer, here's another layer, here's another layer, and how I built it up. So there's just the one I loaded up earlier in the week. It's just a quick little video. I think it's 6 minutes, something like that. So pretty condensed. I did try to chop out all my ums and ahs, because I do usually do quite a lot, and little bits where I repeat myself because I stutter a bit. Because the brain doesn't quite work or does the mouth not work as fast as what the brain's moving. So yeah, and I've also learned how to do. If anybody's out there that's played with Premiere Pro, which is what I use to edit my videos, I've finally learned that there's a tool called Ripple Delete, which is so much more easier to edit with. You just basically divide it up, and it just takes it away and moves up. If you've used Premiere Pro, you'll know if you chop bits out, you've got to delete the bits in between to make the edit. Well, this one just moves everything up, so it's always joined, and you don't have to drag it along manually. It's wonderful, and it speeds the job up massively. So expect more videos from me coming up. And now that I've got my accounts out of the way, I've got more time. I'm still stuck with the same equipment, unfortunately, because I haven't got the money for that Canon M50 yet, which I was kind of wanting. But that's to come, hopefully sooner rather than later. It'd be nice if I had it before the end of the summer, because there's definitely a few occasions coming up which I would like to have it for. And also, when I've had my existing system out in the minute, which is the Nikon D700, when I've been out taking images of that the last couple of nights where I've just gone out into the backyard to make some images, I've done like 5 minutes of my wafting the camera around one-handed, and it is so damn heavy. I don't know whether I'm just getting really old, or I'm getting weaker in my old age. I'm only 41, for God's sake. I know I do look 55, but I am only 41. And just holding that camera out there and twisting it around and moving it, because I'm just shooting one, shooting another, shooting another, shooting another. Arm was absolutely aching. So obviously my Nikon's just getting too heavy for me. I do use the D700, which isn't exactly a beast of a body, and I use the 16 to 35 f4 lens mainly, which is a chunky old lens, but it's not, it's not some Zeiss lens of fancy glass and all that kind of stuff. It's not stupidly heavy. But anyways, my arm, so I'm quite looking forward to having a tiny little mirrorless thing with a nice little kit lens on, absolutely tiny, light as a feather. Probably the only problem I'll have with that is the fact that I'll be vlogging with it at times. So I imagine as I'm using it for imagery as well and wafting it around, that I'm going to have to be continually taking off the microphone off the top, because I'm sure if wafting that all around, the weight of the microphone going like that, it'll soon break it and snap off. So that's maybe one of the downsides I can see straight away. And also I might need to get one of them jobby Gorilla Pods with a quick release on as well, because it'll be fairly hard to waggle that around with a bloody tripod thing on the bottom of it whilst I'm in between vlogging and things. So that's not going to be too that's going to be something else to think about. So that's my random rambly thoughts at the minute. Good God, I've been going 10 minutes already, and there's still people watching. There must be nothing on television tonight. What night tonight? Tuesday? Yeah, there was never anything on Tuesday nights. I think that's probably one of the reasons why I chose to do Tuesday night edits as a live stream. So at least I had something to do for an hour. So yeah, I made some images this week, or tried to, in between times when I was meant to be doing my accounts. I think I did mention it on Twitter earlier in the week, or maybe the middle of last week, is that we're coming to the time of year where it's in a different catalogue. We're coming up to a time of year where there's a particular image that I made back in 2014, which I do class as one of my best images, and it's made just in the field at the back of the house. It's just a nothing kind of view, and it's at the time when I made it, like on the back of the camera, looking at the back of the camera, I didn't really find, nothing really jumped out. It was only in post-processing where I could see there was something there, and it's almost an image that kind of defined how I've carried on with my image making, and kind of pushed us in a certain direction for the last few years. And last year was the first time I'd actually gone back to try to make it again, and it's from a certain spot in the field that you need to be out there at sunset, just as the last of the red lights hitting the bottom of the clouds. So maybe it's just 10 past 9, 20 past 9 at the moment. Looking north. Is basically looking between two trees, and if I can find the bloody thing, I will show you. And like I said, it's an image, the sent us on a certain journey a few years ago, and actually give me a theory that I was going to say teach, but try to explain this whole being interpreting scenes in your own head, making your own stories about what's going on in them. Like I say, it is one of my most notable images. And last year was the first time I'd actually revisited purposely to remake it. So it's made like the very end of July, beginning of August. And if I could find the bloody picture, certainly last year's, I can show you it. It's probably easier if I just find the tweet from last week, which I put out. Would be easier. I think it's definitely going to be on my list of. I've got a fairly small list of images that I can do for deconstruct, but there's a few of them out there that are a bit more out there. Extreme levels of post-processing, which I can do a better job of explaining rather than it's one frame and all I did was turn it upside down, type of thing. So it is probably on my list of things to look at. So I've probably got 5 I can do like an initial 5 episodes of that on. And also with the deconstruct series, it means I can continue to make content when I haven't actually got decent enough camera equipment to get out and vlog properly, or vlog as well as I can. Right, should be able to go to screen mode. So just click on that. So this is the image. This is the one from 2014, and I called it "Faltering Under the Fury" because to me it gave the impression of a disaster at sea. If you can imagine this dark blob here, you can imagine that is the sails of say some 18th, 19th century sailboat. Big. If you think the wars against France and stuff back in the early 1800s, late 1700s. Big violent sea on the left, loads of flames coming out of it. That's the scene that came to me in my head when I made it. And now the stream seems to be playing up, but we'll bash on until things fail completely, because it's that kind of stream. So this is the whole thing of that's just let your mind wander, let it build its own view of what's going on. Let it build its own story, and then almost run with that story, which is what I did. Because when I started editing this image, I kind of saw the beginnings of a scene. So I just ran with it in editing and processed it to suit that scene. So that was 2014, and obviously a few years went by as I carried on my ICM abstract multiple exposure journey, and decided to finally last year, when I realised you could only do this at a certain time of year, was to remake it or do it again. Because I did initially look at reprocessing the original data from 2014, but I thought, no, my capture techniques have advanced over the years. My processing techniques have certainly advanced over the years. So I decided to just recapture it completely, and I came out with this image, which is even darker, slightly different color scheme. I think I used different presets as starting points, and I don't think I actually had presets in Analog Effects Pro for the first one, but I had developed presets since then, and kept them, and just ran on them, and then tweaked further until I got the image that I want. And obviously this one is very, very dark, but it's certainly still one of my favourites from last year. It's probably up in my top 3 from last year. I do like it a lot. Again, still the same subject matter. Imagine this blob is a boat on fire. Black storm. Black, very dark storm. Really, really oppressive, catastrophic kind of night. Yeah, so it's one of the things I'd just run with and let develop. Hi Don, nice to see you. Welcome to my rambly live stream tonight. So those were from the last 2 years, last year and from 2014, and I did see on Twitter that we were getting towards the time when July 26th I posted that tweet. We are getting close to that time frame where it's probably only 10, maybe 15 days where the sun's in the right place, and then the weather's got to be right, the cloud coverage, you got to get a good enough sunset. Everything's got to be in the right spot for everything to sit right. And a couple of evenings there was a bit of a sunset, so I nipped out and shot a handful of data. I think it was, where are we, July? Yeah, couple of hundred captures over a couple of nights. Yeah, so on the day I tweeted that, I obviously went out that evening when it was fresh in my mind, once I'd finished doing my work for the day, and then on the 29th I went out and grabbed another 60 odd captures, and I was probably a little bit too late for that one. I mean, conditions might have been different. I'm just looking at the data. Yeah, there's probably only about 6 minutes between 6 or 8 minutes between the scenes on the two different days, but it's enough to really alter the light. So it is really all about timing. It's the second day I went out, I maybe got slightly better images, better data and movement, because I'd had a bit more practice from a couple of days beforehand. So it is really about getting everything in line, and I still really wasn't that happy with the quality of the sunset wasn't quite there to be able to do what I wanted to do, and also getting my movements right was very tricky. And it's because I'm just generally out of practice. I haven't been shooting enough. So it isn't a case of just going out there and wafting the camera around at any old time of the day. Certain times things have got to be very much in line, all lined up. Get all your fish in one. Is it the fish in one basket? An analogy. You've got everything's got to be spot on and present, and it can be tricky to do. And sometimes you just can't recreate the magic from a previous time, which I think I'm very much finding out now about this scene. And luckily, it is only just in my backyard, so it is fairly accessible. I haven't got to go and drive very far, and I think now I've got a little bit more time, I may well get a vlog recorded regarding this, to hopefully shorten all this description down a bit and actually show you the actual scene. So do stick around on the channel for probably sometime in the next 3 months when that might appear, because my editing is pretty slow. I recorded a video reviewing my images from between January and the end of June. We are now in August, and I still haven't got that video edited together, and we're now a month later. So this is kind of what I'm fighting against my own speed by trying to get content out, but I'm just not making headway. So yeah, I went out. Since then, when I've been avoiding sitting at my desk doing my tax for accounts for so long. Yeah, good thought, John. If you watch my latest vlog on Harbottle Castle, I did put in a little bit, just showing you how I move the camera whilst taking shots. I am struggling with that because with the little action cam that I do use, it's incredibly wide, which is handy in some ways, but it's also very restrictive because I can't just plonk it on a tripod and then shoot me taking pictures. It is pretty much a hold in your hand, and basically it's really just for speaking into. It's rubbish for B-roll and all this kind of stuff. So it is having only that action cam is a bit restrictive, and has admittedly held me back quite a bit on the video making front. So this other camera can't come quick enough once I can afford it. But going on how my PC is going behaving at the minute, the PC might take precedence because it's having some issues with its age. So do check that one out, John, if you haven't already. There's just like a little hint. Well, basically, put the action cam straight right to my chest, and it's given you a view of how I've moved the camera to capture the data of the shapes. But hopefully later on, once I upgrade the gear, I can, if I get this Canon M50, then obviously I'll be carrying a tripod around with us more often. I can plonk it down, and basically some of the B-roll can be me making the images, and obviously you'll see a full range of some of the motions that I make to make these shapes. But I do move it quite a lot. You see some people, and all they do is just give it a little shake. I am flinging it all over the place. I have been known to spin all the way around and things like that, so don't be shy with it. You will get some funny looks, that's for certain, if you shoot how I shoot. So anyways, I did make some images since then. If I knock that off and put this onto screen, I processed a few. Let's just see what I have processed. Come on, computer, stop being slow. Check that it's not overheating. My god, the temperature is up to 95. This could be a short-lived stream, I think, maybe, before the computer melts completely. A few that I've made. There's been some dross. I know that. If I shut Chrome off, that might help on the temperature front, because that's quite heavy on the memory hogging side. So that might help things along. So yeah, some of these are just initial edits just to see how the data's come together, and this was just not. This one certainly didn't come together. Fascinating insight into my waggle technique. You should see me in action. But hopefully if I get things upgraded, it'll give you a better idea on how things go. But yeah, I am quite liberal with the movements. Right. So I have done this. This one was maybe getting a bit closer to where I was kind of looking. It is still not. Just knock me off out the way so you can see the full screen. Colour wise, it's quite nice. scene wise, it's just not working for me. I mean, obviously, I'm probably going in with a mindset of mimicking what I've made before, which probably isn't a great idea. Really, I should be looking at creating new things. But I thought, as I successfully made a decent image last year, it's basically copying the same shot. Although I'm gonna give it another go this year, but this one, it's just with these images, they're not quite cutting it. Could be a number of factors that the light hasn't been right, my movement hasn't been tuned in to how it should be, or what. That's certainly not working. So some things, some frames as themselves work reasonably, quite like this one. Obviously, I've been through and highlighted certain, the frames I want to use. I'll always give 1 star to when I'm going through and picking. Where I see, some potential in it. Sometimes I'll go through and give them 2 stars if there's a certain one which I think might either work by itself or it's one I want to be able to find quickly, because I knew it was a highlight that I could see immediately on the back of the camera. So yeah, that one, I mean, colour wise I liked it, like I said. Just scene wise, there's just nothing there. Some of it might come down that the tree is actually grown, and that first time that I shot it from a couple of years, 4 years ago now, 3 years ago, 4 years ago now, that maybe a couple of branches have actually grown significantly and altered the shape. That may be a thing, maybe a reason. Again, a lot of the way I pick these things, it's just purely on shape, and I just like that big dark splodge. I'm thinking, wave cascading over something. I'm looking at shots I can build up. Excuse me. Shots I can build up to create a scene, so collage style really as well. I was using blend modes to put things together, and I think there's one along here. And this one stood out to us straight away on the back of the camera. I have obviously done a little bit of alteration here because I've already processed it to a point. And for me, because I'm still thinking about the whole nautical theme of the original one from 2014 and last year's version. To me, this shape here, if you can see where I'm drawing, is almost, to me, almost looks like is it the keel of the ship? The front end, forward facing bit. Say if it's coming, if it's coming towards you, the bow of the ship. Is it? I don't know. I'm not a ship expert. That's for certain. But that V almost give it some definition, and I was like, oh, all right, I can work with that. I can play with that. Let's try to run with it. So I've processed this to a point and made this image, which out of the ones I've made so far out of this data is probably the most successful so far. I'm still not overly keen on it, but it's getting there. It may need processed more. I'm not sure. Sometimes I do process these things several times, a good few times over. So it may just need run through a few more, or rerun through processes to get as much as I can out of it. And sometimes all these when I stick these things into Analog Effects Pro and play around, sometimes just the way that starts off can inspire which way an image goes. I've built up a fairly decent collection of presets, which I can just bring an image in and then just look down the side panel, and color wise or position and how things interact. I can just scroll down there, pick one that's close to where I want, whether it be color or position, and then just build an image from there. Little Stopper, my 6-stop. I think Little Stopper is a Lee brand name. I use a B&W 6-stop, which I've had for a good few years now. I actually won it. Well, I won a £100 voucher in a competition on Google Plus from Wex Photographic, and it was an image of a breaking wave, and it was like a panned long exposure. It would be like, it was maybe half a second. It was panned as a wave broke. I think I shot at an f/22, and it won this competition on there. I got a £100 voucher, and I bought the 6-stop. I think it was 105 quid, so I paid a £5 for it. So I've used that 6-stop significantly ever since. It is my go-to ND filter, really, which I think I've mentioned before. So yeah, I think the Lee Little Stopper is 6 stops of filter. So I know a lot of people, they'll say, "Oh, the 10 stops a big stopper." Well, that's a Lee filters thing, and I'm not a Lee shooter, to be honest. I also use screw-in ND filters as well. I don't use the slidey ones, because in my mind you have to buy the holder, or the thing that you drop the stuff into. The holder, is that the right word? So anyways, yeah, you got to buy that and then spend all that bleeding money on drop-in filters and all, which isn't going to happen. And I don't use grads, so never have. So it's either been like full NDs or processing to get what you want with me. So it's been so yeah, I don't believe in spending £100 on a holder and then £100 per drop-in filter after I'll spend £100 on a filter to start with, which you can put straight on however you want. And also, was it the Firecrest ones? Who made them? Format High Tech. Firecrest. Is it Firecrest? Well, the Format High Tech filters. I think they had a bit of a bad name originally, but they are pretty much the mutts nuts nowadays. I would certainly go to them again. And I think I mentioned a couple of live streams ago, or certainly on another video, that I mistake, or maybe it's on a video that's coming up. I can't remember. Or maybe it was just the gear post that I did for my website. Anywho, I did mention that I had I bought the 3-stop filter in a sale, last year. Yeah, because it was in my account, which I've just done. It was listed in at the beginning of last year, so it must have been in the sale. It was off-price sale, 49 quid, and I wish I'd bought a 4-stop. 3 stops just wasn't quite enough. One more stop would have made a big difference to us. So that 3-stop now just sits in my bag and does nothing. So if I had that time again, I would buy a 4-stop. But it's a cracking, like, I have used it, and it is a lovely filter. It's just not quite dark enough. So recommendations, I would definitely recommend for my high-tech screw-in filters. Lovely. They are a bit They are a bit lighter than the B&W ones I've got, but maybe that's just thickness of glass or whatever. Maybe technology's moved on quite a bit as well, coatings and stuff like that. So it's so I would recommend Format High Tech for filters, and also if you're doing the slidey and things. Excuse me, very chesty today. Right, so this image, which I think I've already just kind of talked semi about before getting distracted by the chat. Thank you very much for being in chat, everybody, by the way. So yeah, just try to enhance this forward-looking boaty shape thing. Is it the prow? I don't know. Anybody out there that knows anything about boats? Tell me what it is. Is it the bow? The bit at the front? God, I haven't got a clue. So yeah, I tried to think of that as that, and then ideally I was wanting this area over here to be crashing, foreboding wave, but just not colour wise, just not feeling it. So it ended up being this kind of washed out, greeny tinged background. Is it greeny tinge, or is that just my monitor? Which did kind of remind us of a Turner painting, which is on the front of the book I've got. That one. Let's switch this up. And it kind of gave, to me, the feeling of that. I'll put that in the right place. Something like that. That kind of image. So like a dark kind of boat. Kind of a grubby kind of sky behind it. It's the bow, right. You learn something new every day. All I really knew, I'd heard the term bow in boat descriptions before. I didn't know what it was. And the sterns at the back. Right, you are. Thank you very much, Edward. You are far more educated than me. So yeah, when I was, the colorization on this one, I'll switch back, sorry. Nobody wants to be looking right at my face. So the colorization of this one was very much kind of inspired by that Turner painting, which is on the front of that book. Without actually looking at it and going, I need to go a little bit bluer or anything like that. I just remember I'd seen it. To be honest, I didn't really think it was the shape that it was on the front of the book. I thought it was a different shape. But anyway, maybe that's a different painting I'm thinking of. Could be. So I did give it this more muted kind of look, and kind of gave up on the whole using the sunset as flames and stuff. It just became an image, of which I kind of just left alone. And I think the only other image I made this earlier this afternoon before I got called away. And to me, there's no shape and there's no definition in the shape. It's just is the shape just a feeling of the image or something like that? But what it did do, it reminded me of the work of Kerr Ashmore, who's a British painter, which I shall just try to find an example of her work. She does a lot of work that she does a lot of work that's very earthy coloured, and I was very much thinking of her work when I was making this image. Come on. There we are, here's a site. Get rid of my face. Can we zoom in on some of these? As you can see, there's that, I would call it an earthy kind of look colour, whatever. I love her paintings. Just wish they're a lot cheaper, and then I would love to own one. I think she does remarkable work. Obviously very abstract. You can probably see I do kind of lean on some of the colours she also uses here. You can see obviously the orangey reds, the blackness here. Then you're into the lighter sky, but even with that grubbier feel, there's the transitions. I just love it. Hints of a figure there. You know, there's detail-wise, there's nothing there. It's all just on feeling. That's why I love this style of painting, and not being able to paint. Not being able to paint myself to anything like how I would like to be able to paint. Not that I've tried really. Certainly not since school days anyway. I would just love to be able to make something like that, but I can't with paintbrush, so I'm doing it with Photoshop, a camera, a plug, the Nick Collection plug-in. Just seems to colour things exactly how I want. They're easily manipulated to however I need to get them, and it means I can create work of my own using a different medium altogether, but it's creating something I really like, and it's similar to work that I really like. So you've got Kerr here, her work. Obviously, if you've been here before, you'll know that I rant and rave about Turner. Absolute legend, especially his later work. Inspired so much by his. So yeah, I'm just kind of, I suppose I'm inspired more by paint than photography, like traditional photography. We'll start off like that. We'll pick up a camera and make our own, try various styles and stuff, and end up going off at tangents here, there, and everywhere. And I found my tangent, and it's very much in this vein. So this image, I wouldn't say it's finished. It got abandoned because I got called away this afternoon to go and do something, and this was the state it was in. I can see it's probably adding a bit more light in, just tidying up some of the colour up here. Maybe it's even another bit of a tweak and a twist to maybe create some foreground in here. And then again, it's just letting the viewer get their own story from the image. The only problem is I don't see it at the minute. I don't see a story in this image yet, but it's something maybe with a bit more time with it, I can something else can develop in my head, and then I can, maybe that's the difference between working with this, working on it to a point, getting it finished, is finding the story in the image and then tailoring in the image to suit that story to me, and then you can put it out there without giving the story away, and just let people make their own mind up, which is what I did for that shot from 2014. I wrote a blog post on it. God knows if it's still on my website or not. And basically put it out there, asking the readers, without me telling them what I saw, asking them to tell me what they saw. Needless to say, my brain works in a strange way. and I was the only one that saw a ship. And then some people just saw trees, and you just go, well, that's exactly what it is. So they're probably right, but they're not. To me, they weren't letting their imagination run wild. Them. Why did Alexa just talk to me there? Strange lady, that Amazon Alexa person. So yeah, God, done 50 minutes. I've been rambling all this time. I haven't edited a picture yet. This is just a lot of image theory with Andy. So I don't know. Hopefully that's been informative for you, or whether you've just come along to watch me flounder, like I said on Twitter. I was like, I had no plans. I didn't know if the computer was going to last long enough. I wasn't sure how rambly I would get. To me, I think I've been reasonably rambly. So yeah, I don't know if I've got anything more to add to this. I don't see the point in starting an image edit now. I'll maybe do one quick one without blending. I think we'll just do a quick one image kind of process, just to finish off the night. See what we can make. Highlight some of these with 2 stars for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe do something with that one. So yeah, if you thought that ramble's been useful or informative or whatever, do let us know. Leave a comment below. If you're watching live, let us know in chat if you've been entertained by that or informed by that. Don't be shy. Just say. Develop. We shall reset that back to its starting point. God, that was horrible. So all kind of looking for feedback on these things. Make sure I'm catering to my audience. So we'll just go for the straight in with some. No. Impressive. No worries at all. Glad to have you along. Hopefully you've been informed. Also, a friend of mine, I mean, it's been going a long time now. A friend of mine, Ugo Che, terrible at names of foreigners. He's Italian, landscape photographer, travel photographer. I think he does other things as well. He's just like an amateur travel photographer, but he hosts a podcast called The Travelling Image Makers, TTIM. Search for that. And he had today's episode has just gone live this afternoon. It's got Scott Kelby on it, and I had a rather interesting section of the interview when he said, "Well, it was basically photography." The difference between what the general public want and what photographers think. The difference between what the general public thinks good and photographers think are good, and they used Peter Lick as an example. Whereas, for a fact, most folk around here, you mention Peter Lick and you just go, "Oh, oversaturated crap" and all this kind of stuff. And, Scott Kelby did have a point, was that yeah, to us it's oversaturated and stuff like that. But it sells because he caters to what people want. And also, Scott mentioned that as he's developed his processing, even just from the last few years, obviously that he's written God knows how many books on Photoshop and Lightroom, and he's got all of the Kelby One thing, all the educational side of stuff like that. That he's actually, in years past, the vibrance and saturation sliders in Lightroom, he would use those very minimally, and he says he's being much more liberal with it, adding in a lot of vibrant colours and things like that, which I thought was quite interesting. And also, since the last Lightroom update, we've now got the new profiles. Adobe Color's the default one, and then you've got landscape, portrait, standard, and vivid. Those starting points are way better now than what they were 6 months ago before they came out. It gives you a much better starting point, which I think it's right. We all process things differently, but I remember haven't used vivid as a starting point, but I've certainly used landscape as a starting point. And look at that there, the difference there. It gives that orange is a lot more vibrant. So I am thinking about maybe introducing. I'm not exactly haven't had things, a very monotone kind of, or like very desaturated kind of color scheme. I've always been fairly bright and breezy, I suppose. Looking at my latest print from last week, on the right screen. That's probably one of the most vibrant, brightest images I've made ever at any time. The mixes of turquoises through to yellows there. There's big changes of colour there. And I can see that image going down quite well once I eventually release it. You put that in front of the public, and it could well go down quite well. So here's hoping anyway. So anyways, less rambling, more image editing, Andy. So yeah, I don't think there's much. You're going to check that there's no dust spots. Nope, must have shot that at f4. Just check that the ISO's cleaned up, just about. Add a bit more on for safety. I think I'll just chuck that into Photoshop first. How warm's my processor? My processors are burning up. I need a new computer badly. Right, one advantage of not having several layers is that it loads a hell of a lot quicker. Yeah, without doing anything in Photoshop first. Sometimes I would tweak with a curves layer or something like that. Brighten the dark area or something like that. We'll just put it straight in analog effects and see what it spits out. And again, on the left hand side, got the presets which will load up eventually. So anything that I've mentioned in my rambles if I can remember any of it anyway, I'll add links down below as well. So if you come back probably tomorrow or whatever and just check the descriptions, I'll add in any links, like links to Kerr's site or the filters that I use, which I think the filters might be already listed. If they're not listed down below, there'll be a blog post. Not a blog post. On my website, if you go to About, there's a post there. There's a page there about gear, the gear that I use. And I'm sure the ND filters are listed on there. So some interesting colour schemes appearing on these presets for the use. Yeah, this one, nice subtle one. God knows what it'll be like once it goes full screen, but you know, something like that to me. If you watch, holiday adverts, or airline adverts or something like that, and you've got the impression of flying through the clouds. To me, that's what that looks like. Say if the sun was, low, plane flying through clouds, just on that verge of just bursting through the cloud, get all that lovely light. Reminds me a bit of that. Not much else. What this one looks like. This was a prime example. It looked great when it was in the little preview there, but not so good once it's full screen. I mean, the one thing about whatever I make here is there's not going to be a subject to it really. It's going to be very much. It's just going to be a colour, a massive colour, a massive abstract shape maybe. There's not going to be a definitive, there's a church spire or there's a tree or anything like that. Hold on a minute. Sorry about that. Somebody got called on her. So we're all just going to be playing with colour here. It's just a case of finding a pleasing colour. Almost like so it can be used as a background or such. One of them images that can be just a feeling. Maybe this one could work well. Once it's loads, it's bloody slow. It's pretty dark, but actually I think dark might have been better. There's Ted, just maybe it's not as dark as it was. Not done it. Must have done. There we go. Using the lens vignette to darken certain parts of it. This is again almost using Kerr's work as inspiration because there's not a lot of form and shape to, detailed form and detailed shape. It's very loose. So just using that as areas of colour that could be interpreted as a landscape. Oh, very different. I think I might have liked it before. I was just looking for a bit of foreground, that's all. Right, you back up there to where you were. great. Spill orange juice all over my keyboard. Not sensible. And here I'm just really just going on feeling really. I think all I'm really trying to do is half an image. Actually, if I just go back one step. Is it me, or is it the way the light's shining on my face? Is there a hint of a shape there? Could that be developed into a building? With a bit of a tweak. That's full shade, it's full size. So that's the kind of thing you've got to think about. So I think we're good with that. Stick this back into, put this back into Photoshop. Just check that everything seems to be pushing warm on all the cores of the processor, which isn't good. Stressing it out. Which then in turn's making it so slow for saving this. Yeah, having a look at that. I think I need to get the Hoover into there. Let me see, is there a shape there? These studio lights is bright. Yeah, there is a bit of a hint of a shape there, which you could develop on. What I'm going to do is just going to duplicate that layer. Transform, flip horizontal. That's just done the one. Yeah, just done the one layer. That's alright. That's what I was looking for. And I need to lighten this layer. Put on the lighten mode. And edit. Free transform. Scroll a bit. Upside down. Into that roughly. Don't think is there any hard edges there? Shouldn't be. No, just with the lighten mode, it's only applying to the bottom, which is what I was after. Actually, yeah, that should be fine. Yeah, I mean, also you can play with the opacity to blend it further. If you think that could be like a reflection in the water or something like that. Light in the sky is always going to be brighter than the light reflected in the water, just to do with physics or whatever. So I'm just gonna try to enhance that layer, enhance that block, squarish block or blob, whatever it is, by doing some, I was going to say dodging and burning, but just burning really. So we want a brush, and we want that to be very, very low numbers. That brush to be smaller, and then we're just going to paint in. And that gives you the kind of a hint of a building. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But it kind of works. Maybe even fade that back a bit. Just so it is very much a hint. Then you can play around with a bit more light up here in the sky. Let's try get that a bit brighter. So warm it up. Stay a bit here, not that much yellow. Back Jim. Yeah, invert it, and then just paint in. That up to 20%. Just paint in roughly. Get that out the way. You can see the change. Not too bad. So that's the kind of thing I would just carry on working on that for time memorial. And after about 4 or 5 hours, I'd probably decide it was rubbish, and then it would never be to see the light of day again. But I think there's a beginning. There's the beginnings of an image there, which I think, like I say, with a bit more time, I'm sure I could push a lot further and develop something quite nice alongside it. That must be on the base layer. I was just thinking that there's an area here I thought maybe to do with the way it was blended, but that's just the way the base image is. It looks a bit more slightly washed out in that area there, but that's just the image. So yeah, I think there's something there. I might get the Wacom out, get that plugged in, and actually do a bit more finite drone work to possibly make this blob here kind of a church tower or something like that. So it gives the sense of a place, rather than it just being a mush of colour. So I think that'll do. Been going over an hour. A good one of you have actually stuck with us, so thank you very much for that. If you've enjoyed it, please do leave a thumbs up on the video below, leave a comment. It's been good to have you along. If you like what I do, please check out patreon.com. Where's the bloody thing? Patreon.com/AndrewSGray. Any support you can give us would be greatly appreciated. Where's the other sidebar? If you want to find us anywhere else on social media, certainly Twitter and Instagram's the easiest ones. It's @AndrewSGray, Gray with an A. And the website, which I've mentioned throughout this live stream, is andrewsgray.photography. So I think that's all there is. Just a reminder that print will be up as a prize when I hit 500 subscribers. So please do spread the word of the channel, which would be great. The quicker we get there, the quicker I can get that given out, get it in the post, and yeah, the channel will grow hopefully and carry on. And I think I might actually that print. I might make it a smaller edition than what I usually do. Usually I make editions of 50, and I think I might reduce it to 25 for everything going forward. Just thinking off the top of my head. Thanks, Tony. I can't even say it. Philosophize. That's a big word for a Tuesday evening. Too big for me to be able to say it properly. Yeah, it's just I call it rambling, not philosophizing. Rambling. It's been a very rambly live stream today, but hopefully you've enjoyed my rambling. But it's been good to have you along. Thank you again for watching. It's always fun. It's always enjoyable. A lot more enjoyable when there's people here partaking. But then again, I really don't know how some of these big YouTubers get on when they do live streams, because I've been in a few. I mean, even the ones with a couple of hundred thousand followers, and it's just stupid, absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, I like this size. Maybe it's 10 folk in chat, just having a bit chat amongst ourselves, asking questions. It means there's there's not many people here, you can actually ask us questions and I can answer them fully and go off on a 5 or 10 minute diversion down a side street to answer the questions, which is good because it means it it connects the neurons in my head to actually be able to explain these things, which is good because half of them are just rotting from staring at a screen for 16 hours a day, which isn't good for anybody really. But I know, anyways. Yes, lots of happy rambling today, Stephen. It's been good, but very rambly. That's what happens when you don't plan anything. So hopefully, episode 16 next week, I might have a plan, and I might actually have been out and shot some more data, and then I'll know. I'll have something to show, possibly. Question: what printer? The printer I use is the Epson SureColor P600, and I was going to say without showing favourites, I think I bought it at Wex. I was going to say I bought it from Photospeed, but I didn't. I bought it from Wex, and I think it was about, was it $5.99? So it's a pricey bit of kit. It does A3 plus size. People were saying, "Oh, you want to get the A2 version, which is the P600, P800, I think it is." But that was like $1,000. My credit card didn't go as far as $1,000, so because I knew I had to pay it back. So I bought that one, and to be honest, I think I've only needed to print A2 maybe 2 or 3 times since I bought that 2 years ago. So, and I've just outsourced them. So for the sake of a little bit of outlay, then I'm not losing much really by not having that offer. So yeah, that's the printer. Great printer. So really recommend it. The only downside I've got with it is swapping between matte and photo black. If you're switching papers a lot, I do tend to just print all like gloss for a while, and then when I need to change it to print matte, and then just print matte for a while. So that's my one thing about it, which I don't particularly like. And I think the Canon Pro 1 or Pro 1000 or whatever, I think that maybe doesn't have that. So it'd be more sensible if it had matte black and photo black active all the time, and it just, depending on what settings you had, it did it. Would have been a sensible way of doing it instead of emptying half a bloody tank just to switch them around. So yeah, but a good printer though, produces great results, mixed in with photo speed paper of course. So I recommend photo speed papers. Unfortunately, I'm not on commission from them, but yeah, they've been brilliant, and I haven't got a bad word to say about their papers or the service they provide. So paper wise, just use photo speed. They're brilliant. So anyways, I think that's enough. I think that'll probably all the questions. Shouldn't be anybody else asking any, I don't think. So yeah, an hour and 20, I think that's enough of me rambling on. Thank you very much for watching again. Check out the various links below, elsewhere on the website, all that kind of stuff. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next week for episode 16 of Tuesday Night Edits. Alright, see ya!